Something I only recently realized is not only with 2020 on its way, not only is the year almost done, but the decade has come to an end as well. I didn't, because like in the 2000s, like that's a decade. When I say 2000s, are you immediately thinking about the first decade of the 2000s? It's a little bit ambiguous. And then the 2010s, that just sounds weird, but 2020s, 2030s, it sounds like we finally arrived in some pronounceable, understandable decades. But now we're at the end of the 2010s, and I thought what would be a good idea is for me to document certain things that happened in this final year of 2019, because this decade, just in hindsight, I mean, in 2010, I became a parent for the first time, and then a couple years later, my wife and I got out of debt, and then we ended up buying this home, and we moved into this home halfway through the decade, and then our daughter was born in the second half of that decade. So all these things have happened. Some monumental things have happened, career-wise, family-wise, for us in the 2010s. But what about 2019? I just want to solidify this year in hindsight, and what are maybe 5 highlights of 2019 for me personally. Here they are. Number 1, existential crisis. Yes, it's true. If you look back, I did several videos in 2019 about my existential crisis. And what that was is ultimately, as I'm getting closer, I turned 38 this year. What I realized is all of my goals that I had for myself, I met by age 38 in this year, 2019. So career-wise, it's going great. I love my job. I'm making nearly double what I did 2 years ago, and I'm very happy with my YouTube channels, my blog, all the stuff I do in media. I'm very happy with that. I'm very fulfilled financially. And when you get fulfilled financially, especially before the age of 40, it causes you to kind of reevaluate your life. I'm like, whoa, like the carrot dangling in front of me, it's not so much there anymore. Now, the money we make as a family is going towards retirement more than anything. It's just going into the bank, going into investments. And so that's strange when you're not working to pay your bills or working to pay off debts or anything like that. Like, we're paying for a retirement, which we've got, less than 30 years left to work, but still, like, we're basically just working to pay the bills and maintain this. But more so, all that extra money is going into investments, and that's going very well. So it sort of causes you to reimagine, well, what exactly do I do other than just sit on autopilot and continue to be married and raise our family? Like, there's a song by Alabama, the country group from my hometown in Fort Payne. I'm in a hurry to get things done. I rush until life's no fun. I'm in a hurry and I don't know why. They've got that song, and it really makes that song that much more relevant. So existential crisis, I was sorting through that, and I think that in itself was the major theme of this year. So therefore, everything on my list kind of often is related to that. So number 2, Jeep. In May of this year, I finally got a Jeep Wrangler, 2010 Jeep Wrangler JK, and that actually helped provide a lot of purpose for me. It's a 6-speed for one, so having to get accustomed to that as a commuter, it's so not practical. But I love my Jeep, and it's really kind of helped make things more exciting for me, a now middle-aged man pushing 40, commuting and living the suburban life. It really helps with that psychologically to have my Jeep, and basically to put in front of my own life more complicated concepts for no real reason other than just to have fun as an adult. And that's exactly what I've been able to do. I've really enjoyed my Jeep Wrangler so much, and I needed it, and it needed to have the 6-speed and not the automatic manual, automatic transmission. I needed that. It helps me with having a new purpose. I know that sounds crazy, but if you're going through existential crisis, you can probably understand that more so. Number 3, this summer, 20th high school reunion. My wife went with me. Of course, she's from California, so she didn't grow up with that crowd, but she went to the 10-year, so she knew a lot of people, and that was a big deal. On this channel, I made a video showing the speech that I did there at the reunion. But I mean, again, goes back to the existential crisis. Like, okay, 20 years after high school, pretty much for the most part, who you are now, this is your life. The rest of your life, we're basically halfway through life at this point. At age 38 is when you graduate, when you have your 20th high school. So we're 38 years old. We're halfway through life. and pretty much everything's set in place. In theory, not a whole lot's going to change. Like now we're just following up on where we're at in life. So, that's a big milestone for me in 2019 was the 20th high school reunion. Next thing I want to put on here is finally the year that I really started working on my music and writing songs again. Hadn't really done that since before I met my wife because, we've been married 11 years now, and, get a townhouse, have kids, work on jobs, get an actual house, now get new vehicles, and now we're steady in our career. And now finally, okay, I can focus on having fun and writing these songs and performing them. So you can check those videos out on here. We've done 4 together original songs, where I write the songs, I play guitar, and I sing the majority of them, and my wife. We have a lot of fun. We actually moved to Nashville even before we knew each other for that reason. So that's a lot of fun. That's a major milestone. And then lastly, I guess I'm gonna put this one on for number 5. Hamster. Like we have a teddy bear hamster that we got a few weeks ago, and we swore that we'd never have a pet, but for our son's 9-year-old birthday a couple weeks ago, he finally broke us down and got us to buy a hamster, which ultimately becomes my hamster more than anything. But assuming it lives 1 to 3 years, we'll see as its lifespan, then we'll see how that works out. But I think that in itself, still helps with the existential crisis thing of having this as low maintenance pet as you can basically have is a teddy bear hamster. But still, I think it helps drive purpose back for me as far as my existential crisis and taking care of this thing and caring for it and do my best as the dad to let this be entertainment, let this be purpose for our family, and have some responsibilities in there for that. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if I have more upcoming videos really featuring the hamster and talking more about that. But if you were to ask me what were 5 things that really defined 2019 for you, then those would be personally what I'd say are the major defining points in this year. And so now here we go. We're wrapping up the year, but we're wrapping up the decade in which, let's see, because I got married in 09. I'm sorry, my wife's not gonna watch this video. I was about to say, don't let my wife doesn't watch my videos. We got married in 08. We got married at the end of the previous decade. But 2010 is the year that we became parents twice. We upgraded to a full home with a garage and a yard and all that from a townhome. We've both majorly climbed the ladder in our careers. And so it's been really, this decade has been about parenting and growing our careers and really fitting into the suburbs and living that life that as you are pushing 40, as when you think of happily ever after, like, okay, happy family, happy marriage, like that's where I'm at right now, in a really good place. But again, it's just because things are going so well, and because I'm not even 40 yet, it just kind of messed with me all this year. And it was never depression, it was never anxiety, but it was just something I had to sort out and reevaluate. What exactly am I doing with the rest of my life? Because I guess for so long, with humankind, with mankind, the human race, we're motivated by fear and anxiety. We're motivated by scarcity. And this year is really the first year of my life, 2019, where there wasn't scarcity, there wasn't fear, there wasn't anxiety. There was, I know my purpose, I know what's going on, I know what to do, and basically just plan for the second half of the ride, and in theory everything's good. So I'm grateful for that. But for anybody in that situation, you're not crazy for feeling the way that you do, and you're not crazy for having people not be able to relate to you in that sense of a struggle. The struggle that, well, what if you don't have a struggle anymore? Well, you have to reevaluate that. And something else too I've really been focused on too is spending time with other men who could in some way help. I could talk to them about it as I've sorted that out, just to really find purpose, because men are very much caught up in their identity and knowing who they are. And for men who don't know their identity, that's the opposite of being a man. Like, so much of being a man is knowing who you are, knowing what you're good at, knowing what you're bad at, knowing what your purpose is, knowing what your purpose isn't. So when you have to get to a point where you reevaluate that after being on a course for 20 years, if I became a man at 18, which I'm not, I feel it's not until after 35 that you go from guy to man. Like boy, until age 18, then guy, and then age 35, now you have mastered the concept of fake it till you make it. You make people assume you know what you're talking about even if you don't. And I'm definitely there. So it's been a major milestone year for me. That's why I wanted to make this video. If you can relate to anything I've said, or just like anything I said and want to talk more about that, feel free to leave a comment right here. 2019 is coming to an end, and so are the 2010s. Comments right